How Horatius kept the bridge. Lars Porsena of Clusium, by the 9 gods he swore, that the great house of Tarquin should suffer wrong no more. By the 9 gods he swore it, and named a trysting day, and bade his messengers ride forth, east and west and south and north, to summon his array. And now hath every city set up her tale of men. The foot are 80,000, the horse are thousands 10. Before the gates of Sutrium is met the great array. The proud man was Lars Porsena upon the trysting day. By the yellow Tiber was tumult and affright. From all the spacious champaign to Rome men took their flight. A mile around the city the throng stopped up the ways. A fearful sight it was to see through 2 long nights and days. To eastward and to westward have spread the Tuscan bands, nor house nor fence nor dovecote in Crustumerium stands. Verbena down to Ostia hath wasted all the plain. Astur hath stormed Janiculum, and the stout guards are slain. I wis think in all the Senate there was no heart so bold, but sore it ached and fast it beat when that ill news was told. Forthwith up rose the consul, up rose the fathers all. In haste they girded up their gowns, and hied them to the wall. They held a council standing before the river gate. Short time was there, ye well may guess, for musing or debate. Out spake the council roundly, the bridge must straight go down, for since Janiculum is lost, naught else can save the town. Just then a scout came flying, all wild with haste and fear. To arms, Sir Consul, Lars Porsena is here. On the low hills to westward, the consul fixed his eye, and saw the swarthy storm of dust rise fast along the sky. And near, fast and near, doth the red whirlwind come. And louder still, and still more loud, from underneath that rolling cloud, is heard the trumpet's war note proud, the trampling and the hum, and plainly and more plainly now through the gloom appears, far to left and far to right, in broken gleams of dark blue light, the long array of helmets bright, the long array of spears. And plainly and more plainly above that glimmering line, now might ye see the banners of 12 fair cities shine. But the banner of proud Clusium was highest of them all, the terror of the Umbrium, the terror of the Gaul. And plainly and more plainly now might the burghers know, by port and vest, by horse and crest, each warlike Lucumo. There Silnius of Arretium on his fleet roan was seen, and Astur of the fourfold shield, girt with the brand none else may wield, Tolumnius with the belt of gold, and dark Verbena from the hold, by reedy Thrasymene. Fast by the royal standard, overlooking all the war, Lars Porsena of Clusium sat in his ivory car. By the right wheel rode Mamilius, prince of the Latian name, and by the left false Sextus, that wrought the deed of shame. But when the face of Sextus was seen among the foes, a yell that rent the firmament from all the town arose, and on the housetops was no woman, but spat towards him and hissed, no child but screamed out curses, and shook his little fist. But the consul's brow was sad, and the consul's speech was low, and darkly looked he at the wall, and darkly at the foe. Their van will be upon us before the bridge goes down, and if they once may win the bridge, what hope to save the town? Then outspake brave Horatius, the captain of the gate, to every man upon this earth death cometh soon or late. And how can man die better than facing fearful odds for the ashes of his father and the temple of his gods? Who down the bridge, Sir Consul, with all the speed ye may? I, with 2 more to help me, will hold the foe in play. In yon straight path 1,000 may well be stopped by 3. Now who will stand on either hand and keep the bridge with me? Then out spake spurious Lartius, a Ramnian, proud was he. Lo, I will stand at thy right hand, and keep the bridge with thee. And out spake strong Herminius, of Titan blood was he. I will abide on the left side, and keep the bridge with thee. Horatius, quoth the council, as thou sayest, so let it be. And straight against the great array forth went the dauntless three. For Romans in Rome's quarrel spared neither land nor gold, nor son nor wife, nor limb nor life, in the brave days of old. Then none was for a party, then all were for the state. Then the great men helped the poor, and the poor men loved the great. Then lands were fairly portioned, the spoils were fairly sold. The Romans were like brothers in the brave days of old. Now Roman is to Roman more hateful than a foe, and the tribunes beard the high, and the fathers grind the low. And we wax hot in faction, in battle we wax cold. Wherefore men fight not as they fought in the brave days of old. Now when the three were tightening their harness on their backs, the council was the foremost man to take the hand and axe. And fathers mixed with commons seized hatchet, bar, and crow, and smote upon the planks below, and loosened the props below. Meanwhile the Tuscan army, right glorious to behold, came flashing back the noonday light, rank behind rank like surges bright of a broad sea of gold. 400 trumpets sounded in a peal of warlike glee, as that great host with measured tread, and spears advanced, and ensigns spread, rode slowly towards the bridge's head, where stood the dauntless three. The three looked calm and silent, and looked upon the foes, and a great shout of laughter from all the vanguards rose. And forth 3 chiefs came spurring before that deep array. To earth they sprang, their swords they drew, and lifted high their shields, and flew to win the narrow way. Aunus from green Tifernum, lord of the hill of vines, and Caius, whose 800 slaves sicken in Ilva's mines, and Picus, long to Clusium, vassal in peace and war, who led to fight his Umbrian powers from that grey crag where girt with towers the fortress of Nequium lowers o'er the pale waves of Nar. Stout Lartius hurled down Aunus into the stream beneath. Herminius struck at Caius and clove him to the teeth. At Picus brave Horatius darted one fiery thrust, and the proud Umbrian's gilded arms clashed in the bloody dust. Then Ocnus of Falerii rushed on the Roman three, and Lausulus of Ergo, the rover of the sea, and Arams of Volsinium, who slew the great wild boar that had his den amidst the ridges of Cosa's fen, and wasted fields and slaughtered men along Albinia's shore. Herminius smote down Auruns. Lartius laid Ocnus low. Right to the heart of Lausulus Horatius sent a blow. "Lie there," he cried, "fell pirate, no more aghast and pale. From Ostia's wall the crowd shall mark the track of thy destroying bark. No more Campania's hinds shall fly to woods and caverns when they spy thy thrice accursed sail." And now no sound of laughter was heard among the foes. A wild and wrathful clamor from all the vanguard rose. 6 spears' lengths from the entrance halted that deep array, and for the space no man came forth to win the narrow way. But hark, the cry is Astur, and lo, the ranks divide, and the great lord of Luna comes with his stately stride. Upon his ample shoulders clangs loud the fourfold shield, and in his hand he shakes the brand which none but he can wield. He smiled upon those bold Romans, a smile serene and high. He eyed the flinching Tuscans, and scorn was in his eye. Quoth he, "The she-wolves a litter stood savagely at bay, but will ye dare to follow if Astur clears the way?" Then, whirling up his broadsword with both hands to his height, he rushed against Horatius, and smote with all his might. With shield and blade Horatius right deftly turned the blow. The blow through turned came yet too nigh, and missed his helm but gashed his thigh. The Tuscans raised a joyful cry to see the red blood flow. He reeled, and on Herminius he leaned one breathing space. Then like a wildcat mad with wounds, sprang right at Astur's face. Through teeth and skull and helmet, so fierce a thrust he sped, the good sword stood a breadth out behind the Tuscan's head. And the great lord of Luna fell at that deadly stroke, as falls on Mount Alvernus a thunder-smitten oak. Far over the crashing forest, the giant's arms he spread, and the pale augurs muttered low, gaze upon the blasted head. On Astur's throat Horatius right firmly pressed his heel, and thrice and 4 times tugged amain, ere he wrenched out the steel. And see, he cried, the welcome, fair guests that wait you here. What noble Lucumo comes next to taste our Roman cheer? But at his haughty challenge a sullen murmur ran, mingled of wrath and shame and dread, along that glittering van. There lacked not men of prowess, nor men of lordly race, for all Etruria's noblest were round the fatal place. But all Etruria's noblest felt their hearts sink to see on the earth the bloody corpses, in the path the dauntless 3, and from the ghastly entrance where those bold Romans stood, all shrank like boys who, unaware, ranging the woods to start a hare, come to the mouth of the dark lair, where growing low a fierce old bear lies amidst bones and blood. Was none who would be foremost to lead such dire attack, but those behind him cried forward, and those before cried back, and backward now and forward wavers the deep array, and on the tossing sea of steel to and fro the standards reel, and the victorious trumpet peal dies fitfully away. Yet when one man for the moment stood out before the crowd, well known was he to all the 3, and they gave him a greeting loud. Now welcome, welcome, Sextus, now welcome to thy home. Why dost thou stay and turn away? Here lies the road to Rome. Thrice looked he at the city, thrice looked he at the dead, and thrice came on in fury, and thrice turned back in dread, and white with fear and hatred, scowled at the narrow way, where wallowing in the pool of blood the bravest Tuscans lay. But meanwhile axe and lever have manfully been plied, and now the bridge hangs tottering above the boiling tide. Come back, Horatius, loud cried the fathers all. Back, Lartius, back, Herminius, back ere the ruin fall. Back darted Spurius, Lartius, Herminius darted back, and as they passed beneath their feet, they felt the timbers crack. But when they turned their faces, and on the farther shore saw brave Horatius stand alone, they would have crossed once more. But with a crash like thunder fell every loosened beam, and like a dam the mighty wreck lay right athwart the stream. And a long shout of triumph rose from the walls of Rome, as to the highest turret tops was splashed the yellow foam. And like a horse unbroken, when first he feels the rein, the furious river struggled hard and tossed his tawny mane, and burst the curb and bounded, rejoicing to be free, and whirling down in fierce career, battlement and plank and pier, rushed headlong to the sea. Alone stood brave Horatius, but constant still in mind, thrice 30,000 foes before, and the broad flood behind. Down with him, cried false Sextus, with a smile upon his pale face. Now yield thee, cried Lars Porsena, now yield thee to our grace. Round turned he, as not deigning those craven ranks to see. Not spake he to Lars Porsena, to Sextus not spake he, but he saw on Palatinius the white porch of his home, and he spake to the noble river that rolls by the towers of Rome. O Tiber, Father Tiber, to whom the Romans pray, a Roman's life, a Roman's arms, take thou in charge this day. So he spake, and speaking sheathed the good sword by his side, and with the harness on his back plunged headlong in the tide. No sound of joy or sorrow was heard from either bank. With friends and foes in dumb surprise, with parted lips and straining eyes, stood gazing where he sank. And when above the surges they saw his crest appear, all Rome sent forth a rapturous cry, and even the ranks of Tuscany could scarce forbear to cheer. But fiercely ran the current, swollen high by months of rain, and fast his blood was flowing, and he was sore in pain, and heavy with his armor, and spent with changing blows. And oft they thought him sinking, but still again he rose. Never, I ween, did swimmer, in such an evil case, struggle through such a raging flood, safe to the landing place. But his limbs were borne up bravely by the brave heart within, and our good father Tiber bore bravely up his chin. Curse on him, quoth false Sextus, will not the villain drown? But for this day, ere close of day, we should have sacked the town. Heaven help him, cried Lars Porsena, and bring him safe to shore, for such a gallant feat of arms was never seen before. And now he feels the bottom, now on dry earth he stands, now round him throng the fathers to press his gory hands, and now with shouts and clapping, and noise of weeping loud, he enters through the river gate, borne by the joyous crowd. They gave him of the corn land, that was of public right, as much as 2 strong oxen could plow from morn till night, and they made him a molten image, and set it up on nigh, and there it stands to this day to witness if I lie. It stands in the comitium, plain for all folk to see, Horatius in his harness, halting upon one knee, and underneath is written, in letters all of gold, how valiantly he kept the bridge in the brave days of old, when the goodman mends his armor, and trims his helmet plume, when the goodwife's shuttle merrily goes flashing through the loom, with weeping and with laughter, still is the story told, how well Horatius kept the bridge in the brave days of old.